Hello, I'm Cindy Ehrenberg-Seltzer, President and CEO of the Children's Services Council of Broward County. Welcome to another edition of Future First, Focus on Broward's Children. For a long time, the accepted path for a youth toward a successful professional career cut through a typical four-year liberal arts college education. A bachelor's degree seemed like the way forward to the American dream. The reality is that there are many more options young people graduating high school can consider that may more closely align with their interests in chosen professional fields. Joining me to discuss these many options and ways to ensure youth and potential employers are aware of their existence and value are Lynn Goldman, Community Relations Coordinator for Broward Technical Colleges, Kara Lundgren, General Manager of CIRC HOTEL in downtown Hollywood, and Mason Jackson, President and CEO of CareerSource Broward. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much for being here, because this is a topic, we all love the idea of a four-year college, and that may be great for a lot of our students, but there are many other paths forward. And I think it is good for our parents and our kids to understand there's no shame in not going to a four-year college. There's a lot of options.
Right.
Mason, talk about how that shift has come about and what's going on in the workforce these days.
Yeah, well, one of the things, and thanks, Cindy, for having us on, one of the things I wanted to say was there's a stigma around what used to be called vocational education and is now called career and technical education. And it kind of goes like this. If your child is college material, then they go to university. If they're not college materials, somehow a step down, then they take this other track. And that's false. I mean, the jobs that are represented in the career and technical education field are just as rigorous. They pay just as well. They're often
even
shorter,
better, I think,
sometimes
right?
even better, and so forth. And in the labor market, and this is what parents have to understand, the nature of jobs has changed quite a bit. Right now, 75% of the jobs require some kind of training beyond high school, okay? But of that group, 50% are in something called opportunity jobs. That is, they require post high school training, but not a college degree. In fact, the demand for occupations that require a college degree are not expected to change much. It's always been about 30%, sometimes a little bit less. The major growth in jobs are in this middle skill area, which is some training beyond high school, but not a baccalaureate. And it's in a variety of areas. And I think parents overlook that arena, and they need to know that number one, there's less cost associated with these training paradigms. I mean, right now, college students are racking up $1.5 million in debt. Trillion, I'm sorry, you're right, $1.5 trillion in debt, which is really inhibiting their ability to go out and become functioning adults. In many cases, these vocational and training programs, these career and technical education programs, you start earning as you learn. So it's a viable path.
Now, is a high school diploma still necessary?
It helps a lot to have a high school diploma, especially for advancement. So a couple things I want to touch on. One is that the state of Florida has an initiative called Career in a Year. So most of the programs at the technical colleges are less than a calendar year. Most are a 10-month traditional school calendar. And the state sets the fee of what it costs to go to school. So it's $2.85 an hour to attend our programs.
Wow.
Shocking. Now, some programs cost a little bit more because they have what's called a supply fee. If you're driving a commercial vehicle truck, an 18-wheeler, there's a supply fee of gasoline. So that costs more. Or in a welding program where you're going through lots of materials. Whereas if you're in an accounting class or a medical coder biller class, you're not using much in the way of materials. Overall, our programs at Atlantic, McFatter, and Sheridan Technical College cost under $5,000 and under a year worth of time to complete in order to become employed. The state tells us what we can teach, and it has to be high skill, high wage, and high demand. And they look at that every year and say, if you can't make a living wage out of this, then that's not something you can teach.
Right.
To Mason's point before about students getting trained in what they need with college, we are never of the message that you shouldn't be a lifelong learner. And it might be that at 17 or 19 or even 21, you just aren't sure what you want to do, but you know you need to be making a living. So wherever that passion is, if that passion takes you to the kitchen, if that passion takes you to automotive technology, whatever it is for you, get training, get industry certification and work, and then you can move on from there. An example of something I'll tell you is one of our high school students at the technical college, at the technical high school, I'm sorry, she knew she wanted to go to work for NASA. So she went into our welding program. Everybody thinks flash dance. No, she knew that in order to understand metal and how temperature affects it, welding was a great program for her. I will tell you, she was part of the SpaceX launch recently. She went to the University of Florida. She studied metallurgy. She majored in metallurgy, and she followed her career path. But while in Gainesville, she was able to work as a welder and make money while she was there.
That's a great
So
story.
it's about being a lifelong learner and saving money, because you don't always know at 18 what you want to do.
I know I didn't. Lynn, before I move on, I want to Kara, I want to just ask you to explain a little bit about the high school, the technical high school versus the college, and the role of the Broward County School District. How does that all work?
Our colleges are our post-secondary side of the house, and each of the colleges, Atlantic, McFatter, and Sheridan, have their own standalone high school. Those students, it's a magnet high school, so it's entrance criteria of being an average student, and while they're there, they have rigorous academic studies. Everything is taught at an AP or honors level. Everybody must take 4 years of English, math, social studies, and science, regardless of what you come in with. So if you've already come in with Algebra 2, you're still taking 4 years of math. But they also, instead of getting their electives, they choose their technical path. So they may know that they want to work for NASA, and they go through the welding program. They may want to go into medicine, and they come out of high school as a licensed practical nurse. Or they want to be a dentist, and they come out as a dental lab technician. So they marry the rigorous academics with the technical education. Each of the high schools only has 600 students, 150 per grade level. So what is that saying to the rest of Broward County? You're out? No. So a traditional high school student can become what we used to call a share time student. We now call it career technical dual enrollment. Just like students are used to going to Broward College for their math course or their English course before they go off to university, they can now come to the technical college, get their electives, their industry certifications for free as part of being a Broward school student, and then go off and either go to the world of work or go off to university with that training.
That's terrific. Kara, let's talk about, I mean, when I think of on-the-job training or job opportunities, the hospitality industry is a huge one. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Sure. So, I started in a kitchen when I was 15 years old. And I think that it's what we have every day. In Florida, tourism is our #1 industry. Mm-hmm. So, and especially in South Florida where we are, it's still very largely based and growing every day. And we're looking for people of all ages and technical skills and college degrees, if that's the route they took. But to work in our field, it's a great need, especially in culinary. So we hear across the board. So anybody that ever wants to be a chef, be a chef. The pay is great. That you have so much advancement. We have tons of great, famous chefs that are in our area that you can learn and work under. But this theory, one of the things I like the best about tourism is it's still experience-based. If you have a degree or you don't have a degree, it's the best person for the job. And working and following your dreams, whether culinary is a big focus, whether it's culinary or working the front desk or being a room engineer, you have great benefits and perks and all the things that come with the great lifestyle of working in the tourism industry.
Can you expand on that? Because I think a lot of people think of jobs in hospitality as being minimum wage, if that, and no benefits. So where does that come in.
So that is definitely not the case. Most employees are full-time. They have full benefit packages, health, vacation. Some of our hotels and restaurants have some programs to pay for school. We work with technical schools. We work with the four-year colleges. We have programs at Broward, at Dade, that have all of these different career sources to get you there. Then you realize that, yes, you may be a server or a bartender at $5.44 an hour, but many, many, many bartenders and servers make way into this 75,000, 50,000, and some of the top ones make over six figures.
Wow.
Yeah, especially property managers and hoteliers. I mean, general managers. I mean, you're getting up into the high end of the six figures.
Definitely.
In some cases, especially for like private.
In the hotel business, the only job that is required to have a college degree in the 25 years I've been doing this is our directors of finance. We want them to have accounting degrees.
That seems like a good idea.
Other than that, our salespeople, we want people that can sell. Our culinary team, we want you to have your skilled culinary skills, and we're going to help train you. And if you want to be a pastry chef, we're going to help. You know, that's a talent that you have. These are creative based to working the front desk. To all the jobs, to housekeeping, whether it's our executive housekeepers. Our executive housekeepers, the average salary is $65,000 as starting in most hotels.
Wow.
It's a very, so these are, I tell people all the time, follow your dream. I started in the kitchen, I was 15 years old frying French fries. So you can do whatever you want to do.
And today's job seekers are really interested in mission. They want to know that what they're doing is meaningful, that it's contributing to something. And in the hospitality industry, you are making memories.
Every day.
You're making memories, and you're strengthening families, because families go on vacation and they have time with each other and so forth. And how they feel about that experience often determines how they feel about taking future vacations with that. So you're making memories every single day in the hospitality industry.
A hotel is like a miniature city. You need someone to run the elevator, the air conditioning, the plumbing. I was away recently over spring break, and something was not a queue within the sink in the restroom. They called plumbing up right away. They had people doing things all around the hotel. So we often say to students, don't think when you see a job posting at a Marriott facility or at CIRC Hollywood that it's just for people in hospitality. They need to run those hotels as well. So we try to encourage students who are in those fields to take a look at that, especially because of your benefits packages.
Well, also, and one day you can be the fry cook, and then you can decide you want to go to the front desk, or maybe you want to become a catering manager or a sales manager. All of these jobs, that's what you have the background to do. I changed a job every year and a half until I, figured out if I wanted to work in food and beverage or if I wanted to work in the rooms division, and until you decide that that's, the career path that you want to take. Plus, you get to go on vacation, stay in other hotels for a lot of times discounts. You get to eat in really good restaurants, or your restaurants are good and you get to experience. We teach all of our staff wine classes. These are things that just enhance your life skills. It's a lot about life skills as well, because you're dealing with people from all over the world. So we talk about things that happen everywhere in the world. And because it's important to us, because our guests come from all over the world. So we need to know if current affairs are going on. These are all the things we talk about, and it's the community. It's amazing that what we all work in together, and you can do whatever you want to do. And I think that's the best part. And every single day is different than the day before.
I'm getting ready to change careers.
Right now.
Right. Me too. The same thing.
This sounds so much fun.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
So I'd like to circle back to what both you and Mason started with, and that is getting the message out to particularly parents that these are viable jobs, these are meaningful jobs and careers, not just jobs, but really careers that people can have without investing a lot of time in things they don't want to be doing. And I have a college degree, and I sat in gen ed classes, and I sat in my basic sciences, in my English, and my humanities courses, not knowing exactly what I thought I would be doing. And Mason has the statistics on how many times people change jobs. But oftentimes to be able to go to work each day and enjoy what you do and have that passion, I'd like to see some of the conversation around a dinner table change and encourage students to explore these different careers.
You know, Cindy, the college degree is not the ticket to success that it used to be because of this growth in the opportunity jobs. You know, the statistics are that 40% of recent college graduates are working in jobs that don't require a degree. I mean, the overeducated barista or the person standing behind the desk at a rental car agency who has a college degree is almost a proverb. And of that group, half of them 5 years out are still underemployed. They're in jobs that don't require a college degree. So when you see the overall statistics, yes, income is related to education. The higher up you go, the more the average. But those averages for college degrees are pulled up by the professions, the accounting, the sciences, computer sciences, engineering, and so forth. For liberal arts graduates, not so much. And you know what the #1 degree is in this country? #1 major? Psychology. Now, unless you're going to get a PhD, there's not much you can do with a degree in psychology.
Hey.
Yeah, no,
I happen to have a degree in psychology.
Me too, I was one of them, okay? But I'm not doing that now. I'm in workforce development. So I would be.
There's some psychology involved in
There's
that.
always some human behavior in everything that you do, but I'm not. My occupation doesn't require that kind of training. So I think that we need to look, you know, at these alternative routes in the other career and technical education fields. They're all guided by industry. Industry people are in there saying, yes, this is what we want them to learn. And one of the biggest problems they have is keeping their students until they graduate because the employers come along and want to hire them out before they can finish. So that's real demand.
So one of the things that I think has driven people to college over the years, just looking back sociologically, was this idea that in college you learn critical thinking. And for those who were not quite ready to face a career, it was 4 years before you actually had to earn a living. In some cases, I worked 2 jobs my whole time in college, but talk a little bit about the critical thinking skills that do go on even in the career and technical schools.
Well, I think some of it goes back to when we were vocational schools. And it meant if you got your hands dirty and you did something, you could be successful. We've elevated to the technical college title now, and there is a lot more reading, higher demand critical thinking skills, computer skills, communication skills, all go into play into every part of our curriculum. So naturally, some of the critical thinking comes in there when you're having to diagnose an auto engine. It's not just listening anymore, kicking a tire, taking a wrench. You're plugging it into a computer. And you're figuring things out, and you're trying to analyze what's going on, and that's happening in every program. If you're in a surgical technician program, you need to be thinking, critical thinking. What is the doctor going to ask for next? What does the surgeon want? So that's built into role-playing, clinical space, on-the-job training as part of the classroom.
And so we were also trying to explain that to employers, even though they're snatching the people out of there, recognizing that your potential employees, these students, are gaining those critical thinking skills. And Mason, I want to go back to something you said at the beginning and repeated now about the change in terminology, because I think that has a psychological bearing on people as well. That idea of vocation sounded bad, but career and technical gives it a different cachet.
Well, it does, and that was the reason for the change, largely, is because there was this huge stigma on vocational training, and it sounded like a step down, whereas career and technical education doesn't sound like a step down, but people still think of it as vocational education. And I can tell you that the textbooks that they're dealing with in many of these courses are on the same level as college texts, at the same reading level and so forth. And it is problem solving and critical thinking skills, and also what are known as the foundational skills or the soft skills, communication, the ability to deal with customers and so forth. So all of that's rolled in. And the Department of Labor statistics show that you will change careers, not just jobs, careers 5 to 7 times in your lifetime. Wow. Okay. So if that's going to be the case, you got to look at your base skills and where it can take you. And for many of these career and technical education classes, you can branch out. So don't think of a career ladder. Think of it more like a lattice, or maybe even a web, where you've got a center of skills that you've gained, and then you can move outward from the web along a number of different career lines.
I would like to add to it that we work very hard as part of Broward County Public Schools to make sure we have articulation agreements. So almost every one of our programs articulates to Broward College. For the student who wants to continue with a college degree, they get credit for what they've already done with us. For instance, in hospitality, our culinary program is just 15 credits short of an associate's degree in hospitality management. So you've already invested the time with us, and you can continue to do that. And kind of as a public service announcement, I would just caution your viewers to look for a proper accreditation. The federal government has clamped down on a lot of these private institutions for profit because they're in the business of giving students loans. Students are never going to get out of the debt that they're getting from those loans because they're never going to be able to get employed because they've gone to an improperly credited institution. So I say do your homework, ask around, see what the right accrediting agency should be for whatever field you're going into. There have been a lot of schools that have been shut down locally recently. I don't need to give the names, but they've been shut down. Our culinary program is less than $5,000. There are similar programs that were over $76,000 for the same program.
Mason, is that something that CareerSource helps people find the right place for them?
Oh, absolutely. If somebody needs a job out there, whether they're a young person, 18 and older, or up through older workers, if they don't have the skills to get a job in this market and they need those technical skills, they should come to CareerSource Broward, any one of our 3 career centers, and we can help them assess their skills, see what direction they want to go in, and get them a first job, a new job, or a better job.
Kara, what's the best way to get into the hospitality field?
So wanting to work, that's the best thing. We enjoy working with both technical school and with CareerSource. When I opened my hotel, it was the first hotel in downtown Hollywood in 39 years. CareerSource came out multiple times and hosted all of our job fairs. We work on continuing training programs, but I think some of the stigma also comes from parents wanting their children to have better, that generational. And I've noticed in the recent years, and very few recent years, that they realize that some of these things are great jobs. My parents think that they potentially, they're like, why didn't you just keep working? Why'd you go to college?
Right.
They look at you get to go and live in fancy hotels. I'm not quite Eloise. I don't live in the plaza, but in their mind, that's what we do. It's a very, I watch when my employees, when our associates, when their parents come to the restaurant and they see the food they prepare for them, or they watch them handle a big event or a wedding, and that joy, you can't ever take that away. And if you have children and kids and young adults and middle adults that want to do this, do it. I think it's the greatest thing ever. I love going to the culinary program at the school. It is, first of all, the food is amazing, and the joy that all of these students have, and they get so excited to talk about, pastries or pastas or meats, how they butcher and cut a meat. It's amazing, and then they bring into my world and they get paid to do it. It's even better.
And Cindy, one aspect we haven't mentioned is entrepreneurship. So when you learn these skills, you can start your own company. So sometimes it's not about being an air conditioning mechanic, it's about owning the air conditioning company, and maybe 2 or 3 up and down the East Coast. So there's a real potential there to become your own boss, start your own company, and make 7 figures.
Wow. And so for employers, what's the message for employers about whether or not they need to be looking for, I think I know the answer to this, but whether they need to be looking for that college degree? What should they put in their ads when they're looking for people, or what should they have in mind?
Skills. You know, sometimes a college degree is a proxy for some of the foundational or the soft skills. They know the person has the ability to sit through maybe tedious assignments and classes and so forth. But they should really look at what skills do they need, not what degree is out there.
And an example of that, we had a high school senior from McFatter recently. He went to Harvard, and he was in our network support class. And he knew he needed to work while he was there, so he applied for a job with cybersecurity. And before they even looked at what he had, they said, "Yeah, you haven't taken the first class yet." He says, "Yes, but I have 4 industry certifications that I received while I was in high school and got the job." Because he had the skills that Mason's referring to do that job. He did not have the university degree yet. That was later coming.
And I don't remember the last time that I hired somebody, or even particularly noticed if they went to college or didn't, and I hire people every day. I maybe, if it caught my attention that they went to school somewhere that I know, would be one thing, but that is, I can't even remember the last time, and I look at hundreds of resumes a week.
And Elon Musk says, if you're smart and motivated, college may be irrelevant.
That's a perfect place to end this. As you've heard, there are indeed many paths towards the American dream. The key is ensuring that high school students and their families understand that professional success is achievable in many ways, all viable, valid, and potentially valuable. I want to thank Lynn Goldman, Kara Lundgren, and Mason Jackson for their insight and all they do to ensure the next generation of responsible, productive adults is well equipped to be successful in the workforce. I've been your host, Cindy Ehrenberg-Seltzer. For this or any other episode of Future First, Focus on Broward's Children, go to our website, cscbroward.org, where you can access our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, and remember to join us next time on Future First, Focus on Broward's Children.